G'day YouTube, just a video on a small repair I'm doing for a customer. They've got these large door frames which we're shrinking down to a standard size doorway, or almost. All the doors in this house are different sizes. The doors were from an old police station, they're antiques, so all the frames are different. So what we've had to do is shrink them down to pretty much a standard size doorway. I'm getting asked a lot of questions about lintels, how to do a lintel from a wall framing video. That there on the bottom above the doorway is a basic lintel. So that's just two pieces of 70 by 35 laminated. So they're stuck together, joined on their side, and that's what's called a lintel. And what that does is that moves the weight, shifts the weight to the edges of the frame where there'll be additional studs and support there. Now what I've had to do is I've had to move the frame down, so you can see there that that's the new frame I've put in. And just putting some stud adhesive on that frame I've just put in, and that'll hold the sheet on, and I'll screw it as well. I'm just cutting a sheet of gyprock here, so I think it measured up at 915 by 920 or something like that. It wasn't quite square because of the way the other piece of gyprock was cut. So I just bring my measurements out here, I'm cutting it. I've also done a separate video of this for people if they want to watch this separately. Basically I'm measuring out my 915 and then my 920 at the top. I use a straight edge or a level and then score it with either a Stanley knife or a knife of some sort, and then it should snap fairly easily. And then just what you do is you snap it, and then the paper on the back, you just slice that through once, and you should have a nice straight cut. And you might have to do that. You have to cut it through all the way one way and then cut your other dimension the other way. And then you should get a nice piece of gyprock. Try and get it as close as possible to the size of the hole when you're doing this, because you will have to fill any gaps over about 2 millimeters to prevent cracking when it's plastered. So here on the back you can see I'm just slicing it through at the back now, and then I should have a perfect straight piece of gyprock to use for this repair. There you go. So you can see I put the piece on the back there, and you can see what I'm doing on the front, so that's a pretty good fit. I'm just fitting the door here. These doors, none of these doors are standard sizes. They're all either taller or wider, and I've had to modify these doors. So that piece there is actually two strips I cut off another door to fit a frame the other day. As I said, you could not get doors for these frames unless you got them custom made, which is expensive. So what I've done is these two strips are exactly the right height to make this door the right height. I've nailed them on, and then I'm using builder's bulk to fill up that little gap, and then that'll be sealed, sanded, sealed and painted, and you won't see that. I'm also filling the old handle where the old handle went, because the door's a different size. You can see there it closes perfectly, so a bit of work on that hole in the frame there. You can see I put a couple of coats of plaster up the top, and it's starting to look like a door frame now. And this is a brush finish on the door in the end. So it'll be just like basically we're just lowering the door frame